Hello everyone, I'm Kate Driver and I've been a naturopath for over 25 years, and during this time what I've seen with many of my perimenopausal and midlife clients is that they push through stress. They just push through and push through and push through so hard, and they probably have been doing that all their lives if they've been running their own businesses, until their body pushes back. And this is what happens in midlife, in perimenopause and menopause. Women find themselves getting so many symptoms at this time because they enter this time of their lives with high levels of stress and cortisol, and their adrenal glands are overworked. So these little glands on top of your kidneys, the adrenal glands, they produce different stress hormones, one of them being cortisol. A lot of people know about adrenaline. And then this high cortisol, which is going to increase anyway when your hormones drop and change in perimenopause and menopause, this will, when it stays increased, cause a lot of the symptoms that you're experiencing. And what I find is so many women get more severe symptoms when they enter this time of their life adrenally exhausted, and perhaps their thyroid gland is also out of balance. So many women have subclinical hypothyroidism, where it doesn't show up on a doctor's blood test, a pathology test, but well, it may be in a subclinical range which they won't recognise. So it's generally when your TSH is starting to creep up. It's not outside the reference ranges yet, but you can get real symptoms. And your free T3 and free T4, which are your thyroid hormones, they're starting to get lower. So there's definitely optimal levels, and this is what we want to make sure that you have. Now with cortisol, we don't tend to get that tested in blood because it usually spikes a little bit when you're getting your blood taken, because it's a bit of a stressful procedure anyway. And if you did want to get it tested, salivary hormones and salivary cortisol is usually better, but it's more expensive. So depending where you are in the world, in Australia it's fairly expensive, but people still do it sometimes. So yeah, I would love to hear what your experience is with entering midlife, if you're in that age group, over 40, over 45, if you're in perimenopause, menopause or midlife. Do you get symptoms? Have you found that you've entered it with high levels of stress because you're running your business? And look, I know I did. If I can share quickly my story, I did work for another naturopath for a long time, which was very stressful. That was just over 10 years. And some of my symptoms started in my mid-30s, which could have even looked like perimenopause. But I worked out that my thyroid and my adrenals were really highly stressed, and I started getting thyroid issues. And I recognise this in so many, I would say half of the clients, and that sounds like a lot, but half of my clients that I see in midlife and perimenopause and menopause tend to have subclinical hypothyroidism. I was one of those, and that was a long time ago now. It was probably nearly 20 years ago. And yes, what was I going to say? So yeah, over 20 years ago. And then when I started my own business, I was in my early 40s, and I've been doing that for 16 years now. I thought it was perimenopause, but when I look back, I now think I entered that time of my early 40s with really stressed adrenals. I'd been through lots of personal stress. So you might be able to relate to that. Can you relate to that? Having personal stress as well, family stress, relationship breakdowns. I started a new job as well as starting my own business after leaving working for another naturopath. And there was so many changes. I had to move house and buy a new car. I remember it was a hard time. So can anyone relate to that? I'd love to know. If you drop any comments in the comments below, that'd be great. I'll have a look at them later. And it's nice to hear and get some feedback with everybody's experiences and how you've actually then worked out what to do. What have you been doing to resolve these symptoms, and what are they? So a lot of the symptoms of adrenal stress and high cortisol can be similar just to perimenopause symptoms or menopause symptoms, which sometimes people lump into the same. Generally what I see is perimenopausal women tend to get more symptoms because their hormones are just wildly fluctuating. You may or may not know this, but estrogen goes up quite a lot and then it drops and it goes up and down and up and down. And this is why so many women actually sometimes don't get symptoms for a while. They think they've got better and all of a sudden they get a spike in estrogen or a drop and they feel terrible again. And it can be like that, a bit all over the place. It's a bit of a roller coaster ride. So your moods might be like that too. And with high cortisol, people tend to get anxiety, feel wired and tired. You can feel exhausted, but also at night time when you try and go to sleep, you may be finding it hard to unwind and waking up in the middle of the night as well. And you might be putting on that belly weight around the midriff. Can anybody relate to that? I don't see that in everybody, but a lot of people do experience this without changing anything, because this high cortisol will cause the insulin resistance that happens in midlife, that horrible, dreaded midlife belly. So what we need to do is reduce this cortisol and reduce the inflammation in the body, because inflammation, if you've got anything inflammatory, say you've got arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis or something like that, or something that's driven by inflammation, then this will increase your cortisol too and give you similar symptoms. So you might feel irritable as well, blood pressure can go up, you might start getting sugar cravings or cravings for foods that you never have. And some people just feel like they're on this mood roller coaster, like I said, and maybe feeling like they're getting PMT or premenstrual syndrome or tension all the time, not just like before their period. And our adrenal glands need to be healthy at this time of your life. So once you're in menopause and your ovaries aren't producing these hormones like they were for ovulation, because you're not ovulating anymore, then our adrenal glands need to be healthy to actually help with the balance of these hormones. And this hormone, a lot of it's relying on this hormone called DHEA, which is worth also getting tested, and that helps us produce these hormones that our ovaries once did. And so does our cholesterol and our fat tissue, and sometimes overweight women and women with more fat on their bodies tend to have more estrogen for that reason, because our fat cells produce estrogen. And you can become estrogen dominant this time of your life too, so it can actually cause other symptoms like depression and that weight gain around the belly and the hips and the bum, which is really annoying for lots of women too. That means that you might be estrogen dominant. So that's what I see quite a lot, and I love working with women when they're going through this, because they don't realise it's sort of driven by a lot of this issue with the adrenals and sometimes the thyroid gland. And then there's so many other glands in your body that are actually suffering too. We need to look at your gut microbiome, because this has a big influence on your estrogen and all of your hormones, and your liver, because it helps with your thyroid gland health, metabolizing your thyroid hormones, but also your estrogens as well. And we need to look at this all as a whole together. So I actually talk about it being like an orchestra. We need to have all of these instruments in this orchestra balanced and playing together. So all of these endocrine or hormone glands and hormones, they have to be working together in harmony. So if one gets out of whack, like if your adrenals are stressed all the time, then the rest will actually become out of whack eventually as well. And this is what happens. So we need to look at the body holistically. And I tend to look at what people can do with their diet, their lifestyle, with supplements, with their mindset, and use that quite holistically and give them lots of different tips. So I have so many clients that work with me, either one-on-one, online or in person. And also I've got programs that I help women through. So it's like a toolbox that you have that you can refer to over and over again for life without having me there. So let me go through the tips then. The tips, probably with the diet, you want to have balanced blood sugar levels, and just make sure that you're not getting those fluctuations with the cortisol and your blood sugars all over the place. And this can be achieved by having regular protein at every meal. If you eat animal protein, it's fairly easy, but if you're not eating animal protein, you need to look at nuts and seeds and legumes and things like that. And just make sure you have enough of that at every meal. Usually when it's animal products, I would say like a palm size of protein at every meal. And this will help satiate you and your appetite, and means that you don't get drops in your blood sugar later in the day where you'll just crave something that you shouldn't be craving and eating. So protein is really, really important. And So is fibre. So we need to look at these foods that are brightly coloured and high in phytonutrients. And so all the studies show that all the inflammation that increases in perimenopause, menopause and midlife drives a lot of the symptoms too, which is what high cortisol does also. But studies have shown that all these phytonutrients and all these richly coloured vegetables and fruits, they actually reduce inflammation and can make a lot of difference with symptoms in perimenopause and menopause at any time in your midlife. I'm in postmenopause now, and I still eat these sort of foods, and I always really have, but increase them hugely. So this is really important, not just to reduce inflammation, but also to feed those good microbes in your intestinal tract, in your gut. Your gut microbiome is so important to help keep your body healthy with your hormones, but also your immune system and your mood, because your neurotransmitters like your dopamine, which is important for motivation, and serotonin, which is important for mood and being happy, and producing our melatonin to help us sleep. A lot of the percentage of these hormones are actually produced in the gut microbes, in the intestines, even though they act on the brain. So that needs to be addressed as well. So diet is really important, and reducing the inflammatory foods is really important as well. Things like wheat gluten, because it's highly processed, hybridized, genetically modified. It's inflammatory, it's hard to digest, it can drive a lot of symptoms with a lot of women. And also just your regular dairy products from cows. If you're having A2 milk, it's a lot better and you might be able to tolerate it. But generally I try and get women to get off of dairy because it's pumped through full of hormones, it's inflammatory, and the same with wheat. It's really hard to digest, it's inflammatory. And when women, I just see this time and time again, even if you reduce it to 80%, they just feel so much better. But I have so many clients over the years that have just said, I don't want to go back and eat them again because I just feel so good not eating them. And I'm a good example. I've been off of these foods for gluten probably 30 years now. But dairy, I would have goats. Goats and sheep is going to be a better choice because it's easier to digest. And it's really part of the Mediterranean diet. If you're looking at something like that, because these animals are smaller, and the lactose and the casein in them are actually more easily digested by human beings than cows, compared to cows' products. So reducing wheat, gluten and dairy can be very helpful, and just your processed foods too. Just try and get your sugar out of your diet, or reduce your sugar, because that's inflammatory. It's going to create a whole lot of inflammation and cravings for sugar. You get addicted, as you probably know, to sugar. And I'd love to hear from anybody that would like to comment. You know, what do you crave anything? Are you in midlife? Are you craving anything? And have you tried cutting these foods out and increasing all your plant foods? You'll feel like, to begin with, you might feel like you're missing out, but then you don't go back because your body knows that these nutrients are really nourishing you, and then you crave more and more of it. And those other foods that you used to have, then they just become a bit irrelevant. And it doesn't mean that you can't have them at all, but just not every part of your day. Diet is really, really important part to start. And, you know, we can go into even things like your good fats that nourish and feed your hormones and help balance mood, even anxiety, if we're looking at omega-3s in your diet, which is great from fish and fish oils and cod liver oil. You can get some of it from hemp oil and some other seeds. But these oils, the omega-3s, have been shown to reduce anxiety. Can't remember what percentage, but it does reduce anxiety and really nourishes and feeds the hormones and reduces inflammation as well. So it's really important to have really good fats in your diet, as well as the protein and the fibre. And loads of structured or filtered water that hasn't got fluoride in it, because fluoride inhibits the absorption of iodine, and iodine is really important for our breast health and our thyroid health. So make sure you do that too. And if we step into then lifestyle tips, I generally recommend to also prioritize, I can't even say it because it's nighttime while I'm filming this, prioritize sleep This is so important, and so many business women, and I know I've done this in the past as well, is, you know, just have to push and push and push and don't have enough sleep. They might just try and fit too many things in, and it's understandable if you've got a lot to do and a family, but you still have to prioritize sleep, because otherwise you're going to get more symptoms. And sleeping is when your body is balancing hormones, it's detoxifying, your brain is draining, your lymphatic system is draining, and, you know, because everything actually, it goes back into a balance while we're sleeping, and we need to get into that deep sleep. So make sure that you get at least 7 hours sleep if you can. 7 to 8 hours is actually optimal for most people. And if you have to get up a few times in the night to go to the bathroom, well, that's understandable, but as long as you go back to sleep all right afterwards, and just try and get back into a deep sleep. If you find it difficult, then there's loads of things that we can do. We can look at increasing melatonin naturally. You don't need to take melatonin drugs. I use magnesium quite often. I recommend in my clients, because 80 to 90% of the population are magnesium deficient. So, and it's deficient in our soil, and it's deficient in our food. And because of high stress levels and this high cortisol, magnesium would be my number one recommendation for nutrients. So if you can take some magnesium, if anybody wants to know any more, or just because there's lots of different types for lots of different reasons, but don't go taking it unless you've got, you know, some go ahead from a health professional, just in case you're taking any medications, or what you take is not right for you, because there are so many different types for different reasons, which I don't think I really have time to go into, because I could spend 15-20 minutes just talking about magnesium, and it could also be a little bit boring. So anyway, if anybody would like to know more, please reach out. And I do go through this in some of my freebies that I have, and I have a free masterclass. If anybody's interested, I'll pop the link down below. And I go through the 3 hormonal changes that happen when you go through perimenopause. And there's others as well, but these are the 3 major ones. And one of this is the one I've touched on tonight, which is cortisol, or today, because it's tonight here in Australia, is cortisol. I talk about estrogen, and then I talk about, I've forgotten what the other one actually is. Isn't that terrible? Because I do it so often that I've just forgotten what the other hormone is. Anyway, I talk about, I think it's just, I go through those 2 hormones and the gut microbiome. So we're talking about balancing these hormones, but also looking at that you look after your gut, because your gut hormone balance, I was going to say imbalance, is really important. So if you're trying to work on hormones and reducing stress, that's great. But it's a bit of a two-way street. So all of these stress hormones will actually affect the microbes in the gut, and all of the microbes in the gut will affect your stress hormones as well, and your brain. So we need to sort of look after both ends of the body. So I got a bit distracted talking about the webinar. Apologies for that. So yes, the webinar, I was going to talk about it at the end, but if anybody would like the link to my free masterclass that you can watch anytime. I do it live every now and then, and I've done 2 stream them live in the last few months, but I'm not sure when my next live one is. So you can check out my recorded one and learn lots more there. It's a very value-packed masterclass I love sharing with people to help them through these stages. Yes, so prioritise sleep, and we talked about that. Deep breathing, does anybody do deep breathing, slow breathing, or any of the somatic exercises? I think deep breathing just generally can be very helpful, even reducing hot flushes and feelings of anxiety and irritability. This can be really a good practice just to get into your day. I meditate and do deep breathing in the morning, and it's just a good start to the day. Does anybody meditate? I'd love to hear, and what type of meditation that you're doing, because I think this is one of the most important things when we have high stress levels in our lives and we're rushing around and trying to meet deadlines and do this and that. I wouldn't go without my meditation and deep breathing. I've been doing it probably since I've been running my own business. I don't think I did it when I worked for another naturopath. So yeah, at least 16 years, every morning. I find the mornings good to set you up for the day. So if you're not familiar with any of the, I'm sure lots of women aren't by now because it's everywhere, but anybody wants to know about my favorite deep breathing techniques, then let me know. A lot of people use the box breathing. I think that's the easiest one to use. Or somebody I've been following that's over there in the US he teaches a breathing technique which is really a lot more simple, and it's just slowly breathing in from the belly and breathing out a little bit more slowly than you breathe in, and you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And that's probably the simplest way to do it. You slow down and you just say to yourself, slow down. It's like pushing a button that's slowing you down to 75% of what you were doing, because we're so, and I'm very guilty of this, used to rushing around and being really quick. I've always been a fast talker and a fast doer. So if we can slow down and just breathe deeply, this will actually reduce inflammation in the body, calm our brain down, and we can focus more clearly. And it's a good start to the day if you do that with some type of meditation. If you're finding it hard, I don't know if anybody's used the binaural beats or the theta brainwave healing on YouTube, but check out those sort of videos. It's good to sort of retrain your brain and get you used to it if you can't do it just by yourself. Then chuck some headphones on and listen to some of these YouTube videos. It slows your brain waves down, so it actually makes you feel more relaxed more easily. It's good for trying to get to sleep as well. But just be aware of Wi-Fi and the electromagnetic fields that you get exposed to, and the blue light at night time, because this will all increase our cortisol as well. And when our cortisol stays high at night time, we get exposed to this blue light, then it's hard for our pineal gland to release the melatonin to go to sleep. So just be aware that all this blue light we get exposed to from all of your devices and your phones, even the TV, can be disrupting our sleep-wake cycle as well and keeping us awake and not sleeping. So if you're going to listen to some of these theta brainwave healing things, then try not to look at your device you're using it from too often. And I have earphones, which are their Defender Shield, which is an American product as well. I love them. I've got a laptop Defender Shield mat that you can put on your laptop onto, so it absorbs the electromagnetic fields and the Wi-Fi, because this is disrupting our hormones hugely, that we're getting exposed to all this electricity, the 5G, the Wi-Fi. And one of the best things you can do at night time is turn your Wi-Fi off while you're sleeping. That makes a huge difference. I try and turn it off during the day too when I'm not using it. Or one of the better things to do is actually plug everything in and don't have Wi-Fi. You've got the router, but then you would plug your computer and everything in and not have it Bluetoothed. Anything Bluetooth is not great, so try not to use Bluetooth headphones, because have a look at the research. There is so many, I would have to say horrific studies that are showing what's happening to people's brains that are using Bluetooth regularly. Not good. And if our hormones are in disruption anyway, we don't need to add all of these stresses to our body. There's loads more. I talk about, what else in the environment is affecting our hormones, but just for this segment, I just wanted to talk about the things that are stressing us and keeping this cortisol high. So I just thought I'd add the Wi-Fi and the electromagnetic fields that we all get exposed to, because if you're in business and you're working online, then this is just inevitable, isn't it? I personally use blue light glasses as well. I haven't got them on at the moment, but they've just got a blue light filter. You can't see that they have, but these are great. And you can get different color ones as well, but you can just get your regular glasses. The optometrist can put a blue light filter on your glasses, and you can get blue light filters on your devices, which is really important to block that blue light so it's not affecting your hormones. Then probably the last thing I wanted to just mention, exercise is so important, because it actually helps us not only stay healthy inside and out, it helps reduce anxiety and depression and helps you sleep better. It will reduce inflammation if you're not doing too high intensity, but it's so good for our body, mind and soul. And whatever your choice is, then do it, but perhaps try to reduce the intensity, like I learned the hard way, because if you've got high cortisol, you don't want to increase it more, and sometimes women can put on more weight when they're doing too much. So body bodybuilding, I was going to say muscle building, sorry, not bodybuilding. Muscle building exercise is probably one of the most important. So I just think yoga and Pilates is great for women in midlife. Fantastic. I'd love to hear what you all do though. What's your favourite exercise and what you like doing? I like a bit of everything. I personally am still a jogger. I still jog, but I have cut it down hugely since, I've been through perimenopause and menopause, and it's made a big difference. So I'm going to finish up here and say thank you everybody for listening. I'm so excited to be part of this group and to be sharing, and I can't wait to do another one of these talks and be able to share and help anybody in any way that I can. So again, I will leave a link for my masterclass below if anybody wants to check it out. And if you have any questions, just let me know. And I look forward to seeing everybody else's talks at their summit as well, at the different summits that we have. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Bye.